Joining me in the studio is Nikolaus Schultze, Director of Global Policy at the International Chamber of Commerce. Thank you so much for coming in. In terms of what Trump's top economic advisor, Larry Kudlow, has said, that which is he expects Juncker to turn up with a significant trade offer, but we've heard from the Commission this morning that is certainly not going to happen. So what do you expect to come out of tomorrow's meeting?
Well, first of all, I think we think it's very important that the dialogue is maintained. We, of course, are happy that Mr. Juncker is travelling to Washington. Now, I think the issue goes beyond the current tit-for-tat. We need to move the debate out of the schoolyard. I tax your olives, you tax my herring. We need to go beyond that. The multilateral rule-based system has served the world very well. We've had 70 years of job creation and poverty alleviation. So it's in the interest of all parties that the building is maintained. Now, of course, the building has foundations which date back to the GATT time, the General Agreement on Trade and Tariffs in 1948. And of course, the world has changed since then. There are many differences. One of the G20 countries today at the time did hardly account for anything in world trade. That's very different today. There are issues which we hadn't dealt with at the time, we couldn't foresee, like intellectual property, issues such as state-owned enterprises and the control of subsidies. These are all issues that need to be tackled. So I think the debate goes beyond just the current discussion on some measures. And by the way, between Europe and the US, we only have a weighted average tariff of 3%. So that's not very high. Certainly, we've got 10% on cars, and certainly some actors are actually focusing on that specific point. I think the EU would probably be well advised to move on that particular point.
But the world of trade appears to be in turmoil at the moment, thanks to a very aggressive approach by the US president. I mean, Trump has declared the EU to be a foe. Just how damaging is that to trade relations? Do you think we've gone past the point of no return, or can they recover?
I'm an optimist, so I don't think we've moved beyond the point of no return. But certainly we want to avoid escalation of trade wars. We want to avoid moving into currency wars. You read increasingly about that as well. So I think, or certainly we think, that what needs to happen is, first of all, we need to support collectively President Macron's effort to reform the World Trade Organization. That's on the public side, with certainly the EU, the US, China and Japan being involved, really making sure that the foundations are kept, but that we look forward at what needs to be done to equip this organization for the 21st century. And secondly, there's a need to listen to the users. When I speak to you, I'm actually backed by 45 million companies who are members and who employ 1 billion people around the world. So you need to ask the users, and we not just talk. We talk to the OMC, to the World Trade Organization. We talk to Mr. Azevedo. We talk to Mrs. Lagarde. We talk to the World Bank. We talk to the OECD. But we go beyond talking. We will come up with very tangible solutions on how to solve that problem by listening to the users.
But does America stand to come off second best in this scenario?
It's in the interest of everybody to move along on reform. It's in the interest of the US. There won't be any winner in a trade war. That's very clear, and everybody in the US also know that.
Nikolaus Schultze, thank you so much. That's Nikolaus Schultze, Director of Global Policy from the International Chamber of Commerce.